Hey, what's happening, gamers? Welcome to Game Nights TV, Episode 1. Officially now. The pilot has come and gone, and a lot of people liked what we had to do. So many different companies have been buzzing about Game Nights TV for over a month now, and the fun's just getting started. You're actually going to see some different segments this time around, but don't worry, everything's going to be rotated in and out throughout the season. So you will see games that still pwn again and our featured video review. In the meantime, we have some great new segments that are going to fill in the gap. We have a brand new show with Nick Huggett called Demolition, which you guys will get to see later on in this episode. We have a Smash Brothers Brawl Machinima, where my wife does a classic video review of some games you may not have heard of for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, way back when. So I'll be back after our Now Playing section and of course our E3 thoughts. We'll talk about what we thought about E3, and yes, we know E3's been a while, but Game Nights TV is more of a show where we look at the games that came out for that month. Since we're still playing catch-up, today's episode is the May and June games, where our next episode will be July and August, and you get the idea. So anyway, we're going to kick things off with our brand new intro that's inspired after Ninja Gaiden for the NES.
Today's episode of Game Nights TV is brought to you in part by the Nintendo DSi XXXL. It's so big your cat is going to want to sleep on it.
A nostalgic trip back to the land of 8-bit that gets transformed from 2D to 3D literally? Yes, of course! 3D Dot Game Heroes is an adventure RPG that is a lot like the original Legend of Zelda on the NES and A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. In fact, there are so many similarities that it could turn off most hardcore fans of that franchise. 3D Dot Game Heroes, on the other hand, is more of a homage to that. It has power-ups, items, equipment that is very similar to the Zelda games of yesteryear, but with new innovations like finding new swords, upgrading them, and customizing your own character. Even the story is very similar. Could it be a shameful or shameless ripoff? Overall, the game is actually worth checking out, but it isn't for everyone as the game is hard like the older 2D games 2 decades back.
Man, I was a huge fan of this series' relaunch, and Sands of Time is up there as one of my favorite GameCube games ever. So I was actually pretty hyped about this game. Now, not so much. It's not that the game doesn't do anything bad, mind you, but it feels like Sands of Time in HD, which I love and hate at the same time. All your favorite moves of running across the walls, doing incredible feats of agility, and even stopping time are back. Not to mention the voice of the prince returns, and I'm of course talking about Yuri, yeah, you know who he is. So that alone gets thumbs up for me, Ubisoft. But alas, the princely voice just isn't enough for me. The combat feels way too repetitive and simplified for my taste. Players have no ability to block, so it gives this game a more hack and slash vibe. New additions to the franchise is a level up system where you can choose what new powers to obtain, which I gotta say is pretty cool, plus tons of traps and puzzles to keep you on your toes throughout the game. I would say that this game is at least worth a thrilling rental.
Okay, to be honest, I've always been more of a Metal Gear Solid kind of guy. Since the release of the first Splinter Cell, the series is kind of stagnated into the same old, and I think Ubisoft got the message. The story takes place right after Splinter Cell Double Agent. New gameplay elements such as the Mark and Execute, Last No Position, and a bevy of others are welcome additions. Moving from cover to cover in this game couldn't be easier. One of the hallmarks of any Splinter Cell game has been the sound design, and this game's no different. Instead of a stealth meter to tell whether you're hidden from an enemy, they make it pretty simple. If the screen's in color, you're not hidden. If it's in black and white, you are hidden. Sure, I'll admit it's a cool idea, but this means that most of the game is played in a monochromatic state. Integrating text, waypoints, or objectives into the level by projecting it onto the sides of buildings was a really nice touch. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Splinter Cell fan in the world, but conviction seems to be making a believer out of me, and I'm looking forward to seeing where Ubisoft takes this franchise.
Behold, gamers from the far ends of each galaxy, Mario and company are back for another 3D adventure in Super Mario Galaxy 2! It is very rare for a second 3D Mario game to appear on the same system like the days of the 2D games on the NES. This time around, Princess Peach is captured by the evil Bowser, and you must save her yet again. With gameplay similar to the first Mario Galaxy game, and newer additions like Yoshi and collecting more than 120 Power Stars, your adventure will keep you delighted for weeks on end, as the replay value for this game is incredible. Even the visuals are beautiful, with the characters and levels looking very unique, just as the first game. Is the game definitely worth the purchase price? You bet it is! And Game Nights is proud to award Super Mario Galaxy 2 as our must-have Game of the Month.
Following up after the Sunday night reveal of Project Natal's official product name, Kinect, Microsoft started off with their E3 keynote very strong, with some very promising titles such as Gears of War 3, Metal Gear Solid Rising, Halo Reach, and Call of Duty Black Ops. While two of them are multi-platform titles, Halo Reach and Gears of War 3 show off some significant promise to please the core audience of the 360. After that, Microsoft showed off with their new innovation, the Kinect, and that is where the press conference started to go downhill. What is up with the games? Kinectimals? Kinect Sports? Kinect Adventures? Kinect Joyride? Are you serious, Microsoft? You show off an unimpressive library of casual titles and end the show by giving the journalists a new slim 360 console free of charge? Overall, Microsoft has been slapped on in having the worst presentation as of this year. I mean, seriously, have you forgotten who has bought your console over the past 5 years? Us! The real gamers! Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to redeem yourself next year, just as Nintendo did to redeem themselves from their debacle from 2009, but as of E3 2010, Microsoft and Kinect, you fail.
Since I'm a huge fan of Nintendo, I have to say I was a little worried that they were going to tank at this year's E3. However, I was pleasantly surprised. Everything started out strong with the Nintendo's adventure RPG franchise, The Legend of Zelda, with their newest entry, Skyward Sword. Miyamoto came out and did an on-stage demonstration. It was really cool, but he had some technical difficulties actually playing the game with Motion Plus. However, from hearing from my freelance buddies who demoed the game, they say the device actually works very well with it, and it must have just been interference on stage. After that, Nintendo premiered a bunch of games that are coming out, like Mario Sports Mix, Golden Sun: The Dark Dawn, GoldenEye Wii, Metroid Other M, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Kirby's Epic Yarn, and even a new Kid Icarus game. All the games looked great, but I'm not too thrilled over GoldenEye, mainly because Daniel Craig is James Bond over Pierce Brosnan. Nintendo's biggest reveal had to be the new 3DS, which is a device that you can use without needing to wear 3D glasses, so it's pretty cool. The touchscreen returns from the DS, and the system has both strong first and third-party support. So we'll see the likes of Metal Gear, Street Fighter, Star Fox 64 from Nintendo, and even Ocarina of Time remake, a new Kingdom Hearts, and so much more. Nintendo definitely surprised a lot of people, and they definitely stole the show this year.
Sony. What can I say about Sony and E3? Well, I would say if you just looked at Sony's conference by itself, not comparing it to anybody else, it was a pretty good showing. Now if you compare it to what Microsoft and Nintendo had this year, I feel Sony's playing a little bit of catch-up. First of all, you've got the Sony Move, which is of course a copy of Nintendo's already popular technology, the Wiimote. Granted, there are some real big improvements to it, and I think it could be an interesting gameplay mechanic in what they're doing. Problem being, it's already been done, so the whole newness of motion controls is kind of worn off, and I don't know if it's going to be as successful as the Wiimote. Problem there is, that's going to be extra. You're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to buy the camera. You're going to have to buy the controllers. And that's just something I don't know if people are going to do if it's not packaged into the system like it was with the Nintendo Wii. But I'll wait to reserve my judgment until I get a chance to play the Move myself. Now, you've got the PSP, which I don't know what Sony's doing with that system. They don't seem to know what they're doing with it. You got the PSP 3000, you got the PSP Go, you got UMDs, you got digital downloads, and then this whole new stupid Marcus campaign they're doing for all the marketing. The big issue is PSP has had so much problems competing against the DS. Think what's going to happen when they come out with the 3DS. If Sony doesn't come out with something better than what they have now, I don't know if Sony's going to be in the portable market much longer, because with the showing the 3DS had, Sony's showing with the PSP was, well, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then of course you've got the PlayStation Plus service, which on paper looks really interesting, but again, compare it to what Microsoft has with Xbox Live, and it's a little bit underwhelming for the same $50 a year. Once more, Sony has got to do something better than offering something stale and done and old if they want to get into this market a little more compared to their competitors. Now, I thought that they had a few good games showing this year. Of course, we saw some stuff coming up with Killzone 3 and Infamous 2, which they look pretty good. But what I'm most excited about is Twisted Metal. Finally, guys, after what? A decade, we get another Twisted Metal. It's about time, and I'm glad to see they're coming out with it. So that's a big game I see on the horizon. Looking forward to that. All in all, Sony did a decent job, like I said, but they're really going to have to come out with something big next year and in the years to come if they want to stay on top of a market that's already insanely competitive.
Next up, we have our help section where I will guide you through the Super Mario Galaxy 2 Final Star. And yes, it is a hard star to get, and we're going to walk you through it like it's cake. After that, Nick Huggett will be here to premiere his brand new Demolition series, and I have to say, it is pretty cool. After that, we're going to be moving right into our Princess Classics series, and then I will be back after those are over.
Alrighty, it's time for us to take an in-depth look at Super Mario Galaxy 2, and we'll help you guys get the final star in the Grand Star Galaxy. One thing that you need to know about this level is it only gives you one hit point, so if you're hit, then you're going to lose your life. One thing to know is that you'll lose so many lives figuring out how to go through this level, so make sure you have a bunch of 1-ups before you come here. At the start of the level, you must hatch Yoshi out of his egg and ride him through the 2.5D segment by latching his tongue on the air flowers to sing across them. Be careful, as there are mines and enemies that can damage you, like bullet bills, and if you make contact with them, then of course you're gonna lose a life. Study the path and make your way to the end of the section and use Yoshi's Flutter ability to reach the launch star to take you to the next location. In the second place, you have to hit all 21 flip switches to activate the launch star in this section. Be careful, as there are sentry beams that can fry you though. Instead of those laser flying thingies, they should have had the Koopas have laser guns, and then they could have dressed them up as stormtroopers, and it would have worked better because it was in a galaxy. You know, kind of like a Star Wars thing, but with Koopas. Be funny. When on the third section, collect the cloud power-up and glide on the gusts from the fans with your cloud platforms. Make your way through the electric maze and avoid hitting the boundaries as they can hurt you. Collect the extra power-ups along the way and make your way to the next launch star location. While we got a few seconds to kill before moving on to the next section, one thing I loved about the Grand Star Galaxy besides the challenge factor is the fact that the music from Super Mario Galaxy makes a return in this level, which is great because we hear the Dusty Bowl Galaxy again. It seems that the best songs were saved for this last level, and it works out well. In the fourth section, you will go through the platforms that change when you use your spin attack. Be careful, as there are electric force field machines that create shockwaves and octopuses that shoot flaming coconuts at you. Trust me, this is not as easy as we made it out to be. I hated playing this part because of the projectile attacks from those turtle things. Be patient, study the patterns, and make your way to the end of the section toward the next launch star.
If you're wondering why I keep popping in and out, it's because I can.
In the fifth section, there are many blocks and poles that are infested with electricity. Avoid them and make your way to the pole stars. When you're going through the pole stars, do your best to avoid the electric poles, mines, and flying enemies.
My wife and I really hate the pole stars, and out of the stuff to see a return in Galaxy, why the pole stars? Seriously, Nintendo, what's the deal? I mean, I'm not alone in this. A lot of people don't like the pole stars. So, yeah.
When you get to the last pole star, grab it and let go of it to get past the electric post and grab the pole star closest to the launch star. Ride the launch star to the last location. When you're on the last section, the only stress that's involved in this level are the Hammer Brothers, Boomerang Brothers, and Flimps that automatically flip themselves over to get Mario off them. Be careful in this section and avoid the hammers, the boomerangs, and the flips flipping themselves.
Wow, I managed to say that. Now that's a tongue twister, wasn't it? Well, it can't be worse than this line. Those flippers are flipping me out of my mind! Has anybody else noticed how many times I've said, be careful? Just looking at this level is making me bite my nails. Again.
Your objective in this section is to defeat the Boomerang Brothers and make your way to Rosalina's home planet.
Another one bites the dust! Don't mind me, I'm just doing voiceovers over the clips.
Congrats, you've done it, and now you'll never play this game ever again, probably. We hope this guide has been very helpful and encourages you to master Super Mario Galaxy 2, woohoo! Yeah, no, bad Mario, but hey, I gave him my best, right?
Hey, what's happening, gamers? It's Swag here. Welcome to a brand new segment here on Game Nights TV. We're calling this Demolition, where I check out one of the latest demos available for download. We'll pick it apart and see if it's worth your time. Today we are checking out Kane & Lynch 2 Dog Days on the Xbox 360. Now, I did play the first Kane & Lynch game, Dead Men, but I only got about halfway through the game. The story and the gameplay just did not keep me compelled enough to be playing through the entire game. So right at the beginning here, we get some kind of flashback, which, again, I'm assuming happened in the first game, but I'm not totally certain. Alright, so let's fire up this demo here, and we get a quick little tutorial on what the buttons do, and it appears that everything is pretty much in the same spot that it was in the last game. So the whole look of this game is very kind of rogue camera style, as in it kind of has that shaky cam Law and Order look to it. It's pretty obvious that this was done to add a sense of realism to this game, as the character animations themselves are actually really smooth and lifelike.
Shit! What? What the fuck?
Just be prepared that throughout the rest of this game, you're going to see a lot of this shaky camera. The only time when it even gets somewhat stable is when you are trying to aim at enemies.
You fucking amateur! I signed up for an arms deal, not a goddamn war! Hey, I wasn't the only one who put a bullet in that girl!
Most of the gameplay in this game will require you to hide behind objects and peek out your head to shoot at enemies that are also hiding behind cover. Gee, I haven't really seen that concept done recently in video games. The game has a very grimy and dingy look to it, which actually looks fairly polished, so I guess they got what they were going for. There's also a feature where if you press down on the D-pad, it will show you where all of the ammunition is that is somewhat close to you. One of the things that seem to have carried over from the first Kane and Lynch game is the absolute imprecision with weapons. You have to be absolutely dead on with your crosshairs in order to actually injure the enemies. The AI in this game is, well, quite frankly, not the best. Kane, what are you shooting at? I've cleared this room. The only guy in here is this hostage that I'm gonna take. Why is he reaching around the corner and shooting his gun at me?
Okay, we're gonna be on a crowded street, we gotta act cool.
Uh-huh, and how are you gonna act cool in a crowd when you're carrying automatic weapons on your back? I think that's something that people are gonna notice. I mean, this actually would have been a nice opportunity for possibly some stealth missions, but oh no, we're not gonna change up the pace in this game. It's all shooty-shooty. You ever wanted a quick way to give yourself a headache? Well, try running in this game and see how fast it takes before you give yourself a case of vertigo. You know, for a game that's going for a sense of realism, there are several situations which are just downright stupid. I mean, look at my partner Kane there. Look how many cops are shooting at him, and he's just chilling there right out in the open. Yeah, that's really realistic. Kane and Lynch 2 Dog Days, based on the demo anyway, seems to follow the formula that Square is following a lot today. Make your games look really good, but control like crap. My advice, save the space on your hard drive, and don't download this one.
Hello, gamers! I am Princess Zelda. Yes, that's Princess Zelda, the heroine of Hyrule and the princess that everyone wishes she could be. Just kidding. Well, anyway, welcome to my new show where I take a look at great games you may or may not have heard of, brought to you by the creative work of Game Nights Entertainment. Nights, I like that. Are we seriously using the gaudy applause sitcom gag? We aren't that desperate for laughs, are we?
That's it! Just read the line, please. We can always have Peach do this show, you know?
No. I'm all set. Oh, hi, Peach. Ah, that's better. Well, as I was saying, today we were looking at Bubsy in Claw's Encounters of the Third Kind, which is actually a spoof of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, in case you hadn't guessed already. Bubsy is a cute animal platformer game created by Michael Berlin and released on both the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis in 1993. Bubsy is a platforming game similar to Mario Brothers, Castlevania, or any of those, where the object of the game is to jump, explore new levels, collect things, bop enemies on the head. The only difference being, of course, Bubsy is an animal mascot, which during the early 90s, animal mascots and platformer games went pretty common hand in hand. The whole point of this game is to get back the world's yarn, which was stolen by the Willies, a fabric-stealing alien race of evil. Oh no! In order to do this, Bubsy will need to travel through 5 themed worlds, with each world containing 3 zones. What makes this game unique from the other platformers is Bubsy can glide and jump really high. He can even jump almost the whole level. Just look at that. Still, I can't forget to mention this game is really hard, so don't let the kitty visuals fool you. That's right, 1 hit and you are dead. But luckily, Bubsy is a cat, so he has 9 lives. Still, they go really quick, so be warned. The reason I love this game is 2 reasons. The fact that Bubsy is so adorable and the cute little expressions he makes, and for a 16-bit game, this game is incredible. It's so pretty to look at, and it has an explosion of color. Plus, the amount of expressions and animation Bubsy has really reminds me so much of Looney Tunes. My other thing I loved about this game is the music. Sure, it's not better than my theme, but it still fits the game perfectly and made playing the game very special for me. I'm kind of surprised this game isn't available on the Wii's Virtual Console because it's very well done platformer, and most importantly, the game is tons of fun. Okay, that wraps up a new series featuring me, Princess
Zelda!
Link! What do you think you're doing?
I'm ready for my close-up, Princess.
We are in the middle of filming.
Well, excuse me, Princess. But in order for the show to be a great success, the hero of Hyrule must be in it. I am the fan favorite after all. Time to give the people what they want.
I suppose you're right. Come closer. I've got something special just for you, Linky.
Oh boy, is it a kiss? Let me have it.
Oh, I'll let you have it, all right. Well, until next time, see ya.
Somehow that's not quite what I had in mind, Princess.
Now before we go, we have one last segment that we can show you guys to give you something to look forward to before the next episode, and don't worry, it will come out on time. There were some unforeseen circumstances that prevented the first episode from releasing at the end of July, but we're gonna play catch up and everything's gonna be fine, so no worries for you. Anyway, I am sad to report that we have no mailbag this time around either. So, what you guys do is if you don't want to do our email, then please send us a video response, 30 seconds long. Give us a question, whether it be a tip or strategy you need for a classic game, or you just want to, give us a shout out. This is your chance to be on the show. So make it happen, guys. Okay, so our worst game of the month got kind of a revamp, but I think you guys will enjoy it. So roll it.
We all remember the pretty decent Dead to Rights game. Well, with Retribution, everything seemed to be abandoned from what made the first game playable. Plus, it doesn't help this game's cause that most of our competitors have labeled this game as average or meh in the scoring system. Frankly, the controls aren't terrible, mind you, but it doesn't improve upon the standard third-person shooter mechanics either. Although occasionally you do get to do some stealth dog missions, but the way the game progresses, it gets too repetitive going from human to dog missions. Not to mention playing as the dog is kinda scary. Ooh, my throat just got a pain. Honestly, I thought it was fun to push guys off ledges and do hand-to-hand combat, and it wasn't that bad. The cover system was okay, and using enemy for cover was actually pretty clever, and having shadow attack or retrieve things made it more bearable to play. However, the game is just boring from beginning to end. Just because a game goes all out in the graphics department, if the gameplay is average or okay, chances are the game will just be mediocre. That's exactly what Retribution is. While I do enjoy games that honor police officers, this game just wasn't worth my time at all, and the series just needs to be sent to death row and left there to rot.
Well, thus concludes Game Nights TV Episode 1. And check out what's coming up on Game Nights Episode 2.
Next time we'll spend a lot more time on the games from July and August and have our featured video review of Metroid Other M. After Nick got to test drive the game this year at E3, the rest of us have been very looking forward to playing the game tremendously. So we've got an awesome video review for you next time. Don't worry, Games That Still Pwned is back in the rotation, along with a brand new segment from one of our writers, Kyle. This has been Luke. My catchphrase as always is God bless and happy gaming. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Game Nights TV, and until we meet again, gamers.